Boy, oh boy, the world of gaming, as we know it, it is a-changin', and not for the better, in my opinion. What's up, Grim Crew? Welcome back to the channel for another video. I am the Grim Gamer. My friends call me D, and I wanted to do this video a bit earlier, but unfortunately, with my schedule, with just work and well, life in general, I don't get a chance to record and do my videos at any given point. I can't just do things, and so just like everything else, I'm a little behind the 8 ball on this. But this is the earliest that I can get to it, and I wanted to throw my 2 cents in for whatever my 2 cents is worth, which is probably not even 2 cents. But this is regarding the news coming specifically out of the Sony PlayStation camp. And got a couple things to cover. Obviously, the main one being the news of physical discs disappearing and no longer being a thing. And before I get to that, one of the other things that was announced was the closing of the digital storefronts on the PS3 and the Vita. And as far as those things go, I do feel that it is kind of sad to hear that news. With the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360, that era, of games being like the first ones to have these digital storefronts like this. And I know the 360, at least as far as I know, I don't have a 360, I'm not into the Xbox scene like that, but the Xbox 360 digital storefront closed down years ago. And I don't know exactly when it was, but I know Sony had mentioned that the PS3 and Vita storefronts would be shutting down, and then there was a bunch of backlash about that, and they backtracked from that, and yet, so now, as I record this in July of 2026, those are currently still up, obviously not for much longer after this point, but I feel as though I feel like we should be thankful, and I guess we're somewhat lucky that we've had them as long as we have. I kind of expected those to be gone a long time ago, in all honesty. Even when I bought my Vita, this had to have been, I don't know, maybe 2 years ago or so, maybe a little longer than that. I remember turning it on and hitting the icon for the store, and it popped up, and I was kind of shocked. I didn't look into anything as far as that goes before buying the Vita. I bought it specifically for one game, which I was going to buy physically anyway. And so when I clicked on that and it popped up, I was, wow, that's still a thing? And I was kind of shocked by that. But I haven't been on the PlayStation Store on the PS3 in years. And the Vita, I've only looked at maybe 5 or 6 times. It's not something that I don't think really is going to affect me all that much. But regardless, I know that there's a lot of people that are very disappointed about that. But given the age of the hardware at this point, and, times change, things evolve, people and things move on. And the fact that, we've had them this long, I think we're lucky to begin with. As far as the PS3 goes, I'm not sure what that really means or what that looks like going forward. Obviously, you won't be able to get any more digital games or DLCs, things of that nature for there anymore. But as far as the Vita goes, unfortunately, and this is something I want to talk about at some other point to begin with anyways, but the Vita basically got the shaft from day one. It didn't get hardly any support after, the first year? Maybe 2? Something like that. So, the Vita kind of got shafted to begin with, right from the start. And so the fact that that store has still been up this whole time, kind of surprising to me. But I feel that, from what I've seen, what I've paid attention to, the Vita itself at least has a pretty decent, following these days, one of them cult following kind of deals. And, there's a decent sized modding community and homebrew community that, PlayStation Store on the Vita or not, I think people will be able to find ways to make that machine, worth owning, and people will still get their use out of it. But it is sad to see those go, because I remember when I first got a PS3, and, to be able to go on there and such a new thing, all these, like, movies, these games, these demos, and they were just right there at your fingertips, and you could just download them, and it was an exciting time back then. In hindsight, as far as me personally, I'm not particularly happy where the gaming industry has gone since then, which, again, we'll talk about here in a minute, because that there was sort of the beginning to the end of where we're going now. But at that time, it was very exciting, and so it's just another one of those things that some time has passed, and well, it's going to be gone now, and it really is going to be the end of an era. Again, with the 360 one's gone long before this. The last of these kind of digital storefronts from that era is going to be gone, and yeah, it's, like I said, the end of an era, and it is kind of sad. And speaking of end of an era, now here's the big one, the one that I've seen a lot of uproar about in the past couple days since this announcement, and that's the fact that Sony PlayStation has announced that as of January of 2028, no more physical games. No more physical games. They're just going to stop producing physical games as of that time. And that sucks. I mean, I've been a loyal PlayStation guy, PlayStation gamer for 30 years. I started with the original one. I still have an original. I still collect for it. And I've owned every one of them now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, PSP, Vita. I've been a PlayStation guy through and through from the beginning, and to see this, it's very, I guess, like, disappointing. I'm very disappointed in it. I guess the best way that I can describe it, because like a lot of people I've seen, I've heard, I've watched videos, I've seen the posts, I've seen a lot of things in the past couple of days. A lot of us can agree that this is a day that we've seen coming. We've seen it coming for a long time now, even since that PS3, Xbox 360 era. We've been having digital games pushed on us all that time. Now, maybe not as hard, at the very beginning, but the seeds were planted already. And, it's just been a gradual thing that has led up till now. And I've seen, and I feel the same way, someone had said that, figured we were going to get at least one more console generation with physical disc, and hopefully that being the PS6 and everything, and I felt the same way. Like, this was inevitably coming, whether we wanted it to or not. You look at other forms of media, movies, television, music. There's all these different apps, and there's all these different streaming services and everything else. That's where all media is going. Games is going to be no different. So I'm not extremely, I don't feel like I'm really extremely shocked about it, because, again, I've seen it coming. I'm just very disappointed in it. And I do feel that, unfortunately, it is a problem that us, the consumers, have caused. We have allowed these companies, and I'm not saying just Sony at this point, because I'm sure that, whatever else other ones are out there, they're going to follow suit. That's just the way things are going to go, unless they're smart and decide, you know what, we're not doing the shenanigans that Sony over here is doing. We're going to do this instead, and we're going to hold on to that part of the market that they're just going to cut loose. I think that would be a smart play. But anyway, I say that, we partially caused the problem because as, those storefronts were coming in, the digital games were coming in, just started buying them, and I get it. There's definitely benefits to doing, everything digitally. You have the convenience of not having to go out somewhere and physically, like stand in lines on, launch day, waiting for the stores to open. You can just, it's midnight, download, and it'll be ready in 2 to 3 hours instead of having to, go out to a store and wait 5 or 6 hours or even longer, whichever. And then, unfortunately, too, well, I say unfortunately, I'll explain here in a second, but the other thing that I know that, people do get out of this, as far as digital goes, is the fact that we, in our culture nowadays, so many people, they want, there's no, what's the word I'm looking for? Nobody has any patience anymore, Everybody wants everything now, right this second. And with a digital game, as soon as it, drops, you can do that. You can just download it right away. And there's that, I guess, satisfaction or gratification of getting what you want instantaneously. Again, you see that with movies and television and music, with all of the streaming services. Everybody wants everything right this second, right now. So I get it, those certain benefits, but I look at this. What are you sacrificing, though? You know what I mean? Look at the secondhand market. Look at being able to trade things with your friends. Just borrow something. I've even seen this go as far as I've seen it earlier today. Now this is Friday as I record this, the July 3rd. That it's even made like mainstream news, and I think it was some newscast over in the UK that had analysts talking about it and all these different things, and he even made a certain point of, growing up, even during the holidays, during Christmas time, and you'd have some under the tree. I remember, as a parent, being excited to wrap this up and watch my child, unwrap it and see the joy on their face, and you're not going to have that now. And that's going to be gone. So little things like that we might not even be thinking about that are going to change because of this announcement and them doing this going forward. And it's just sad, man. It's just really sad. And I wonder how this is going to affect many different avenues in gaming going forward. I do think of that secondhand market. I do collect, obviously. That's something that I talk about a lot here on the channel. And, I do worry. Now, I overthink things. I do that a lot. So it's hard to say. This is uncharted territory. We've never seen this before, right? So we don't know how something like the secondhand market is going to react. That retro market, just buying used games, things of that nature. We don't know how that's going to happen. So, once January 2028 comes around, no more physical games. Are we going to see physical games go up in price? You know, is that going to be a thing? I don't know. Nobody knows. But I would hate to see something like that, because I in my mind I think, okay, well, this game here that used to be $5, well, now that's like $20, which means now that $50, $60 game is now like $120. And I, for one, I do enjoy collecting. That's part of the hobby. That's part of what I enjoy about gaming, is being able to collect. But I don't have that kind of money. So I worry about possibly being, I guess, what's the lack of a better word here, like outpriced in this hobby. Like, I'm not going to be able to afford to do it anymore. That would really suck. You know? So I worry about things like that. I worry about just, you know, how that's going to affect, that secondhand market. And the other thing is, you know, going forward, do we see any other companies step up to try to fill that void? Does Nintendo buckle down and say, hey, we're not doing that. We're going to keep the physical thing going? And do we see, you know, people shift? I've seen arguments that, well, Sony's doing this, so I'm just going to get a PC and just pirate my games. Well, then what does that solve? That doesn't solve the physical, you know, game dilemma. So I'm not sure where they're going with that. You're still, like, downloading stuff, whether it's legally or illegally. It's still digital version, so what does that accomplish? Nothing. You know, I've seen a lot of backlash from people, like I said, saying something about, well, PS5 is going to be my last one. I'm not going to stick with PlayStation moving forward. And I'm also going to be one of those people, because not only the physical, you know, disc thing, but I've seen, you know, things online about that next PlayStation could be up to $1,000, and I'm sorry. I'm not spending $1,000 on a digital-only console. I'm not going to do it. To me, that is insane. It makes absolutely no sense to me whatsoever. So, unfortunately, I wouldn't be able to afford it anyway. And even if I could, without physical games, there's no reason for me specifically to have that. So, you know, if we happen to get like another Uncharted here in a few years, but it's digital only on this $1,000 machine, I'm going to be out of luck. You know, and I feel like there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be out of luck. Now, I understand that there's a lot of people out there that are bitching about it now. But if they want to be able to continue to play new games, they are going to transition over into the digital age. That's just what's going to happen, you know. And because there's going to be no getting around it. I feel that, you know, gamers, we're in one of three camps. Either you're physical only, you're digital only, or you're somewhere in the middle. And, you know, I admit, like, for a while I was buying some digital stuff, you know. Again, there's benefits to it. There's a perfect example. A couple years ago, they had this digital deal, and some of these deals are very hard to pass up. You know, I get them. They're very tempting, and I've been tempted, and I've done this. They had, like, the Tomb Raider, Rise of the Tomb Raider, and Shadow of the Tomb Raider, like, all in a digital bundle. They were the definitive editions of all three of them, and it was dirt cheap. I don't remember how much I paid for it, but I wouldn't have bought it if it wasn't, you know, dirt cheap. I got all of them for, I think, less than the price of one. So, well, yeah, I've never played these before. You know, I'm going to take that deal. I still haven't played them yet, mind you, but it's another story. But, you know, since then, like, no, I would rather have physical versions of my thing. So even though I still haven't played them, I did finally, you know, go out and, you know, get the physical versions of them. And I've been trying to replace my digital library with the physical versions. That's not going to completely happen either. On the PS3 in like 2012, I bought a copy of Silent Hill, the PS1 Silent Hill. That's like $250 now. I will never own that game. I'm not spending $250 on a PS1 game. That's not going to happen. I'm not going to do it. Especially for a game that I don't really care that much about anyways. And that's just a personal preference. I'm not really a horror game fan, really. But that's just an example. I'm just... and that's already an example of being kind of outpriced as far as that goes. I can't justify spending that kind of money on that game. I can't do it. So digitally was the only way for me to do it. And but I've been moving away from that. And I will continue to move away from that. I haven't bought a digital game in a couple years now. Don't plan on starting now. Unfortunately, again, I said earlier that I believe that this is a problem that us, the consumer, has caused. And as another example, a couple of weeks ago, and this was before the announcement by Sony that they were going to be moving away from the physical disc. When the pre-orders for GTA 6 went live, and we've seen in a day, there was, or maybe it was a week. It wasn't very long. Maybe a couple days. I don't remember. $3 billion, supposedly. Again, this is all stuff online. Take it with a grain of salt. I feel as though trying to find actual facts and truths online, it's impossible. You can't do it. But let's just say, for the sake of argument here, that was true. $3 billion in pre-order sales on what is only a digital release. What do you expect Sony to do? What do you expect any of them to do? They're a business. They're going to sit there and they're going to look at that and look, in a very short amount of time, look at that, how much money that digital game has been pre-ordered now. What do you expect them to do? Well, we don't need the physical media. Look, people are already buying this in droves. We don't need physical editions. You know what I mean? So that's just, one of these things, another thing that I can kind of blame on GTA 6 at this point. That's a whole nother topic. But, when a company sees something like that, what do you expect? So that's what I mean. Us, the consumers, are causing that problem. And I've seen over the past couple of days, that, there's this petition going around online, and it's got 15,000 signatures, whatever. I'm sorry, guys, I hate to break it to you, but something like that, that's not going to do anything. This online petition is not going to do anything. It's not going to change anything. The only thing that would change this, because we do have the power as the consumers, we do. What we do from now, which is July of 2026, to January of 2028, or until Sony backtracks, which could only take maybe a couple months, nobody buy any digital games. Period. Put a stop to it. Everybody. Now, make that hit their bottom dollar. I guarantee you, they would change their minds real quick. But I also understand that that's never going to happen. You can't get two people to sit down in a restaurant and agree on an appetizer, let alone everybody to agree and stand, together on something this massive of a scale. It's not going to happen. And again, I understand that there are some people out there that they've already transitioned. They're in, they've embraced that digital only thing. And that would require their help too, and digital gamers out there, I'm not trying to say that, the digital format should go away or shame on you for buying digital games. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that that is your choice because you have that choice right now, and there's nothing wrong with that. What I'm saying is doing this for somebody like myself or so many others that prefer to have things physically, our choice is being taken away from us. Our option is going away, and that's what sucks. So I want to start it right now. Stop buying digital games. Start that. Let that run wild, and nobody buy digital games, for a while, and let them see them profit margins just sink like a rock. And they would have to backpedal. They'd have to change their mind, and because they're making no money. It always comes down to the money, guys. Everything always comes down to the money. And when the money is showing $3 billion on one game in pre-orders on a digital release, can you think they're really looking at digital sales over the course of the PS5 for life cycles? No, they're probably going to look at like the last quarter, maybe the last year, and that's about it. None of the rest of that, you go further than that, that's ancient history. None of that matters. Look at the right here and the now because they have tunnel vision, right? And it all comes down to how can the corporate swine, put even more money in their pockets? How can we make sure that everybody here in this office gets our quarterly bonuses? Well, look at the last month. Look at $3 billion digital sales on a game that's not even out yet. That's all they have to see. They don't have to look at any other data. They don't have to look at any other metrics, graphs, pie charts, nothing. $3 billion digital game in a very short time frame. This is the direction we're going now. That's all they need. If we stopped that, if we stopped doing that, how quickly do you think things would change? Your online petition means jack squat, means nothing. Affect their bottom dollar. Affect that profit margin. That's how you change things. And digital gamers, this is where I was going with this before I kind of got sidetracked there for a second. Digital gamers, I'm not saying that never buy digital games ever again. Okay, that's not what I'm saying. So stand with us, and just for a short time, until those of us that enjoy and prefer that choice of the physical versions, the physical media, get to keep our choice and keep our option. And then go back to buying all the digital games to your heart's content. Like, I don't care. If that's how you want to do it, that's fine. It's just the fact that our option is disappearing, and that's what really sucks. So again, it's the end of an era. I hate to see it. I knew it was coming. I was hoping we'd have a little bit longer. And even if we did, even if that next console generation, still had the physical discs and all that stuff, we'd probably still be sitting here saying the same thing. Like, oh my gosh, I can't believe we're doing this. Like, this is where the times are going. Everything adapts, changes, and evolves. And we've seen it even in gaming, over the past, several decades. Going from, your cartridges to CDs to DVDs to Blu-rays to the little, like, key card looking things. The formats have changed, adapted, and evolved, but there's still been something that I can physically hold, and keep, and I own, it's mine. That in and of itself is all going away, and that really sucks, the being able to walk into a place, pay my money, and physically get something back that I can hold, that I can see, that I can touch, that I could, pass down years later, or let someone borrow so they get enjoyment out of it, or trade in to get a little bit of value back out of. All of that seems to be going away. And so gaming as we know it is unfortunately dying. And for some of us, you know, myself included, the only thing that I'm going to be able to do from this point going forward is go backwards. And, you know, as much as that sucks, it's not like I'm not going to be able to find new games to play, new to me anyway. You know, think about it, over the course of however many decades, amongst how many different platforms, there's there's millions of games out there. And there's a lot of them that I haven't discovered, that I've never heard of, that I'd like to play, that I'd like to try. So I will still continue, hopefully, to collect for, you know, a long ways into the future. For the platforms that I already own, I'll still be able to, hopefully, enjoy this hobby going forward. It's just, unfortunately, you know, for new games, that's going to be apparently out of the question for me. And that just sucks. It's just unfortunate. So, I think I've made my points. This has actually taken a lot longer than I thought it would. I had a lot more to say about it than I initially thought. But, you know, again, I just wanted to get all of this out there. I've seen a lot of people talking about it, and only for a couple minutes, too. I figure there's a lot of people that would have had a lot more to say. But, you know, I wanted to just get it all out there. Let me know in the comments below where you're at on this. You know, just give me your thoughts and opinions. I guess that's it. I think I'm just rambling now at this point. But one last time, I just urge everybody, start the trend. You want to start fighting back? Stop buying digital games. Hashtag stop buying digital games. Do it. At least for a short while. And see what happens. Hit that profit margin. Hit their wallets. See what happens then. You know, again, I'm not saying digital games need to go away. I'm just saying that allow me to still have my option. You know, that's the key thing. I just want to be able to have, you know, my preferred way, and, you know, options are always good, you know. So if you want to do digital, fine. If you want to do physical, fine. If you want to do somewhere in the middle, that's fine. The options are good. I just want to be able to keep my option. That's the key thing. So with that, that's it for me for this video. If you liked it, hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, so you don't miss out on any other content coming to the channel, whether it's just discussions like this, whether it's the retro game hunting, the live stream replays, the top 5 list, or just whatever it is that I decide to do. So that being said, thanks for spending some time with me today, and I will catch y'all later.